Miss rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Hey, welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. We're going to start in a few minutes, but I want to tell you to hit up our social sites, retweet, share, comment, like, do all of that stuff. It can only help us out and it'll make the show even better. But we're getting ready to give you a lot of good Ole Miss information, and I just thought I would tell you that because the POMcast is starting. Well, it's starting right now. Wait, no, that's a little early. It is starting right about now. Good morning. Welcome to the POMcast. I am your host, Stephen Willis, on this magical mystery tour we call Ole Miss Sports Fandom. Hope everybody is doing well. As you can notice over here, the chat is open for today. We're going to leave that open. Anytime you comment on the live stream, if you're watching it, whether it be Facebook or Twitch or YouTube, any of those, it will show up on the online chat window. That's the way you can get that up there. On today's show, we are going to talk a little bit about basically the defensive side of the football. And then we're going to do the press conference highlights from yesterday, which is DJ Durkin and Chris Partridge. And we're going to look and see where the improvement might lie and why there are reasons to hope this year in regards to the defense. Before we get started, I do want to tell you all about Travel and Cruise World. That's 1-800-330-7461. Again, that is 1-800-330-7461. Scott and the crew do a fantastic job. Basically, what I'm trying to do with these ads in Central Florida, everybody needs a vacation during this COVID time. Everybody needs to get out of the house. Everybody needs to enjoy themselves. Well, these guys will make it to where if you schedule a Central Florida trip, whether to the beach, to the parks, whatever you want to do in Central Florida, these guys are on the ground and they are local. They know what's going on. They know the rules that are set up and in place, and they can really help you out so that you're not surprised when it comes time to have fun and relax. So that is travelandcruiseworld.com, travelandcruiseworld.com, 1-800-330-7461. So I'm very impressed with that. And in a second, I'm going to tell you how to watch the show and listen to the show in the future. But basically, the Discord server, we have a Discord server at Positively Ole Miss. If you comment on that, it'll show up on the chat as well, just like Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook as well. If you comment on those, they're going to show up on the chat, and you'll be able to do that. We want to bring that in because whenever we incorporate calls as well, which we're going to do, these will be a feature of the post-game show moving forward, with calls being taken and the ability to chat and it showing up on the screen so you can have your say to the Ole Miss fan base. If you want to watch the show, you can catch us on Twitter at @TheStephenWillis or at Ole Positively. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast, POMcast. Follow us if you don't mind. You'll know that we're streaming, and you'll know when we go live. You can catch us on YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Subscribe, hit the bell. You'll know not just what we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about. And we're on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. Not many followers on Twitch, but we want to keep sending stuff there, and eventually we're trying to figure out ways to do that. Maybe Twitch-only programming in the future. There's several different ways we can go with this. Now, a lot of people don't seem to understand what I am doing here and what is the goal of this. And the goal is not to make money. The goal is not to make fame. I mean, you could take me completely out of this, and I'm obviously doing this for very little money as it is. Eventually, I want to sell ads just to keep the lights on and things like that. But this isn't about that. This is about letting you know what is going on, absent of ego, absence of the clamor for money and fame that can overtake a person doing this. It is about is honestly about being right. It's about being better. We don't do breaking news. We don't do rumors. We don't do innuendo. We'll talk about what needs to be talked about, but stuff that doesn't, we just don't talk about it. I've heard stuff all through the summer from people everywhere, the Mike Bianco thing. There's, rumors all over the place. We don't report them. That's not what we're here for. That's not what we do. So we talk about what needs to be talked about and move on about our day and have fun being an Ole Miss fan, because at the end, this is what that is all about. Or that is what this is all about. However you want to put it. It's about being a fan and enjoying this. And I'm of the opinion, if you do not like where you are, leave. Period. And that could be job, that could be church, that could be, heck, Walmart in the middle. If you are not liking and you're not enjoying it, go do something else. There's not a thing in the world that is going to force you to do something that you don't want to do. There's always a choice to leave. If you are not getting political at all in this, but if you are dead set against wearing a mask and a school puts a mask in order and you don't want to do it, homeschooling is on the table. Do it. If you do not want your kids to homeschool, put your kids in somewhere else. It's simple. If you do not like where you are and they're not giving you what you need, leave. Period. And that's what we can do moving forward. So I do want to talk a little bit about, we're going to do, let's go ahead and do press conference highlights. And see what all they have to say and what's going on. Then we'll come back and talk about the defense, and we will talk about basically the steps that are needed to improve it and why last year happened. Because they actually, what we've been telling you for multiple months about last year, they actually talked about some in this interview. So we're going to play these press conference highlights. Stick around.
Absolutely. I mean, our guys, I think they more importantly what they're saying or thinking, it's they're showing it in their actions. Their actions have said that since back in February until now. So that's the deal. We just got to keep it going and go keep stacking days and put it out in the field. I mean, we are always about your actions speak so loud we can't hear what you're saying, and we're going to give you that opportunity. I think the way Coach Kiffin designs practice is awesome. There's a lot of reps out there. There's guys moving at all times. We don't have a lot of standing around in our practice, which is great. And we film it all, and it's all evaluated, it's all graded, it's all watched, talked about. And so, I mean, there can't possibly be a guy on that roster from A to Z that could say, I'm not getting an opportunity. They're getting opportunities, so that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's huge, man. I mean, player-led, not coach-fed, right? When the players are leading and they have a maturity, that's what you want as a coach. I think it's huge too, just to understand like the progression of teaching, right? I mean, we go in there, we install schemes last year, and it's all great, and they're learning schemes, and we couldn't really get into, okay, now here's how offenses attack you, here's what happens here, here when the splits cut here, when the running back's here, all those little things, when the ball's in this territory, those are hard to do right away, especially coming off a year where we didn't have a spring ball, right? We didn't have them for a while. Now, because we have maturity, because we have the Kedrons, the AJs, the guys that played a lot of football, right? Obviously the guys Momo, Lakia, Jalen Jones, those guys that you named, because we've had those guys not only in the system, but also with those experience on the field, we can get into the finer details of coaching. We can get to where we want to be.
Yeah, I mean, we don't talk a lot about last year. I think that for me that's always been the case. And I mean, I think it's be where your feet are and focus on today and what we got to do. I think anyone that was in that room understands, good or bad, it can hurt you. If you're focusing on last year, good or bad can, have an adverse effect on you. So it's about what are we doing now? What are we doing lately? That's the sport we play.
Love it. I mean, talk about a guy that just, a lot of this thing goes with trust, right? I mean, trusting in your coaches, trusting in your teammates, trusting everything, right? Trusting, like, where this team is going. Well, how about Kedron, man? 3-year starter. We say to him, hey, we think you can help us inside. Did not bat an eye. Yes, coach. Boom, moved inside, flying around, looks great in there. I mean, that, when you then really look at a team and say, look what this guy just did. He could have said, no, I'm staying at corner. This is where I'm comfortable. He didn't because he trusts his coaches, right? That's ultimately what you want a team to get to and where you want to be. And, having a leader that has that much experience be able to do that shows the younger guys the way, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, Definitely, man. There was some things as we got. I can't remember what bye week it was now. We had like 8 bye weeks, it feels like, last year. So at one point, one of those byes, like, we just kind of narrowed down. We moved some guys different spots, and we started playing better. We had a better feel for who we were and what we needed to be. And so, certainly there's things concepts and fundamentals that'll carry over from that into what we're doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, first and foremost, nobody knows more than us as a defense, statistically, where we were last year. We wear that and we eat that, and that motivates us every single day. And that's the most important thing. I think we've all shouldered that, and we're all ready to prove everybody that we can improve, and we are going to improve, and there can be a drastic improvement from one year to the other. I think the confidence is real. We played well at the end of the season. We started clicking a little bit and coming together, and it took a little longer than we hoped. But the thing is, it just wasn't at the end of the season. We improved in winter. We improved in spring. We've improved from what we've seen. So we're constantly still getting better and better. I think that's the most important thing. We can gain some confidence at the end of last season, but in spring we could have taken a step back. We didn't do that, and I think knowing and shouldering exactly who we were on defense last year every single day, and knowing that is what drives us to be better.
Yeah, you're looking at a team and a defense that are making all kinds of strides moving forward. I mean, it's impressive to watch. These guys started. We've talked about this last year. Why did last year happen the way it happened? And it was really a perfect storm. It is something that will not happen again. It's something that honestly cannot happen again, because we've already passed several steps along the way that are reasons that last year happened. But no spring last year. No fall camp. You basically had game week practices from the start of fall practice. And that contributed to a loss of film, a loss of evaluation time. So you had players out on the field that weren't really what they needed to be in that position. Now, they played there, and they put them there because they assumed as like, hey, this guy looks like he would be a strong safety. This guy looks like he would be a star. And it just didn't turn out to work out. There turned out to be problems because these guys came from a system and recruited to a system of a 3-4 defense, the Mike McIntyre stuff. So players like Jonathan Haynes, who is not something that they were really looking for. They tried to sit him down last year. He worked his way in the lineup and eventually had to transfer this year. I mean, that is fine. That's good for the kid. But, Jalen Stanley, the same thing. He started out at star. Didn't really work. First 3 games against Florida, Alabama, and then Kentucky running all over us. There was a problem with the defense. Alabama gained every yard that they could gain over the course of a game except for like 7. That's a problem with the defense. And it was genuinely personnel. Once the bye week started to get stacked for Ole Miss, as you heard DJ Durkin, they sat down and was able to reevaluate things and figure out what they do really well. And the defense really improved. The defense in the first 6 games and the defense in the last 6 games, 2 completely different defenses. 2 completely different defenses. And the defense that played against Indiana, not many players were playing, but you can see how they acquitted themselves well. And how their improvement and steps, it was actually there. So all of those guys, let's say it's 15 guys playing defensively at that time, most every one of them are back. Now add Isaiah Iton, Jamon Gordon, Twan Malone, who is recovering from an injury, so he might flash later in the season, but not so much early. Chance Campbell at linebacker. If you take at defensive back, Jake Springer. Keydron Smith is now starting at free safety. I saw some excellent ball skills today from MJ Daniels on a one-on-one drill, to where he was able to pick off a pass intended for Braylon Brown. Tasheem Johnson is a ball hawk. Jake Springer is an all-conference player. Chance Campbell's an all-conference player. Those guys are coming to help the defense, and then the last 3 games of the season was Otis Reese, and he was a top 50 recruit. So you can see the spine of that defense is being constructed very well, and you can see how this could be a little bit different than it was last year. Remember, those same 15 people that were major contributors in the Outback Bowl are back, minus Jacquez Jones, basically, and Ryder Anderson. You retool the defensive line. You add all-conference players to go over the top of the defense. These are players that we are hoping supplants last year's starters, which will cause an improvement even still in the defense. You got length being recruited on the outside. Markevius Daniels, or MJ Daniels, and Markevius, I forget his last name, excuse me. But we're signing this team all over 6 feet. This is about cutting down space in man coverage and playing a combination. Chance Campbell learning both positions inside. Who's going to be the one next to him? Is it going to be Lakia? Is it going to be Momo? Is it going to be Mark Robinson? Is it going to be Austin Keys? Who knows? I'm interested to see what that looks like. Then the Sam Williams linebacker at Buck. Cedric Johnson's over there. You got Damon Clowney over there. You've got I can't remember his name. But he played in the 5A championship game against Oak Grove, and he was from Horn Lake. He's over there. He might take a step this year. Defensive line eventually, last year pass rush was a huge problem. And we're going to take a short break. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we will talk a little bit about where we go from here and where we're sitting right now defensively. But until then, let me do this real quick. This is excellent TV. So, all right, let's take a short break. When we come back, we're going to hit what we're looking for on defense now, the weapons that we have, maybe the mindset and what the defense is actually looking for, and the playmakers that might make it happen. Until then, stick around. All right, welcome back to the POMcast. I'm your host, Stephen Willis. Thank you very much for joining us. Just a reminder, our live chat window is open. You can chat on the stream, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, or even hit our Discord server up at Positively Ole Miss, and all of your information would go on the joint screen and on the screen. We're going to do this for post-game, for We've Not Notes, and we are going to do this for maybe SEC After Dark, but at least phone calls for SEC After Dark. We're going to do that. Jeb Beecham moved down here, closed on his house yesterday, got some stuff he has to do. We're going to give him another week off, and then he's going to come in for SEC After Dark, and we're going to have a lot of fun drinking beer and doing all the stuff that we love to do. Now, I kind of like talking about this defense. I really do. I'm more of an offensive person. That's where I cut my teeth. That's what I know, really, is offensive football. But knowing that offensive football, I'm curious at how the defense is going to stop modern college football. Because if you take zones, and there's probably 12 to 16 zones in college football. And what I mean by that is the 7 yards from the line of scrimmage that you need to gain over to about the hash mark is zone 1. And then the middle of the field through 7 yards is zone 2. And then the right side outside the hash mark is zone 3. And then you stack that on top of each other. Now, if you look at that and you assume that in those zones, like zone 1, 2, and 3, are from the defensive line to the linebackers, and then you assume 4, 5, and 6 is from the linebackers to the safety, and then 7, 8, and 9 are basically behind the safeties down the field, like 20 yards downfield. So if you assume that, you can understand what's going on. And each year, it's about where you attack. Which zone do you want to attack the football? And the whole purpose of a play is to timingly get it into one of those zones to where you can attack, right? So I've told you over and over again how Lane Kiffin's offense tortures linebackers. It just can't be right. It's probably the future of college football, teams doing that. And you accomplish that by doing multiple play actions and making the linebackers a step slow. Use the jet sweep so they have to bail early because nobody's blocking that. And if you get outside, it's 3 offensive players against 2 defensive players. If the safety can't get down and get it, it's probably not going to bust it's all the way for a touchdown, but it's going to be in your mind. And if that's in your mind, all of a sudden you're taking a false step right or you're taking a false step left. And you go from that, and then you do a play action or a run pass option to the running back. Now you false stepped right and you false step forward, and the gap between the linebackers and the safety, let's call it zone 5, on the field, is wider and wider, and it's really wider than it should be because of those false steps. So in a normal defense, if there's no false steps, let's just say that the distance between the linebackers and the safety is that. Now, if you have the false steps to where you just take a second's worth of difference, it's like that. Now, this area right here is where the tight end and last year Elijah Moore, this year it'll be another slot player, did a lot of work. If you look at the Indiana game that we just played, the first play of the game, the first offensive play of the game, they hit a second level RPO to Jaden Jackson, who ended up gaining like 25 yards. And it's all because of their ability to mess with linebackers. They're not sure what's going on. This is all scripted and everything they're doing, but you can do this and affect people and open up spaces. That's the magical aspect of this offense, is the ability to open up spaces by forcing players to do other things. And it helps. It's written in the stars. This team was a zone running team in 2019 with Rich Rod. They learned how to do that. The offensive line learned how to block that. So when Lane Kiffin came in here with a zone running scheme, there was no teaching that really had to be done by that. They were already second in the SEC in rushing. Last year they were first in the SEC in rushing. Now let's get the passing offense in. So you can work off that running game into the passing game by manipulating players, because people running to the jet sweep, vacating, filling their gaps on a hard push-up to a run play to Jerry and Ely, because Jerry and Ely is back there, and people are scared of Jerry and Ely. People are scared of Henry Parrish. People are scared of Snoop Connor. Now, let's take JRP in the slot and why they want JRP to really perform in the slot. The jet sweep game. That is where he is going to be so dangerous. You're going to see him take a jet sweep around the end, and his speed is going to freak people out. And then Jerry and Ely is behind the line of scrimmage, and that opens up another play. If we talk about my favorite triple option that is run in modern day football, it is the fake on the jet sweep, option 1. You turn around, Jerry and Ely are the running back, option 2. And then you pull it and zone read. It's a triple option, but it's a different order, and it really messes with linebackers. It's one of my favorite things right now to watch. So I do want you to enjoy this season. I want you to enjoy what's coming on, because most programs are 3-year builds. And you can see that, 1, 2, 3, and it's just a 3-year build. But the difference between good and great, between a good coach and a great coach, between a good coach and an elite coach, is year 2. If you look at Hugh Freeze, who eventually got Ole Miss to the Sugar Bowl in 2015, they went 6-6, 7-5, 8-4, 9-3. Incremental growth, and there was absolutely growth. He was a good coach. Now, look what Nick Saban did at Alabama. Year 1, 6-6. Year 2, 12-0. Look at Urban Meyer at his stops along the way. Look at those elite coaches and what they did. I expect a jump in year 2. Now, I'm not calling Ole Miss is going to go 12-0, because it does matter the personnel that they have on the field at the time. But if they take a significant jump, I'm going to look very closely at that, because the difference between good and great is year 2. If Ole Miss goes 9-3, we got ourselves an elite coach. Ole Miss goes 10-2, elite coach. Ole Miss goes 7-5. Hey, Hugh Freeze got us to a Sugar Bowl. Good coach is good enough, but it's just going to take a little bit of time. So that's something we need to keep an eye on, and we need to enjoy games. Now, I'm not talking about shit-talking other fan base. I'm talking about internally enjoy the process that's going on. The stuff we saw after the NCAA 5-year colonoscopy of what was going on and how things can be taken away and affected. So we need to enjoy this. We need to sit back and enjoy watching Matt Corral. Sit back and enjoy watching Jerry and Ely. Jonathan Mingo, I'm hoping he takes a step. Now that he has a spring practice and everything going on, I hope he takes a step. Braylon Sanders really came on at the end of the year. Dontario Drummond came on at the end of the year. The new receivers, Braylon Brown is one of my newcomers to watch this year. J.J. Henry is one of my newcomers to watch. I think by the end of the year, by the time LSU rolls into town, you will have John Rice Plumlee and J.J. Henry playing slot, and the other guys are going to end up outside, because that's the other thing you will see with this team. That the playmakers, the best players, are inside receivers in this offense, and they move outside with talent. I think it's important to know that. A lot of people look at a Lane Kiffin offense. A lot of uneducated people of what's going on look at a Lane Kiffin offense and assume this is a pass-first offense. This is not. This is a 60% run offense with big plays in the passing game. That's what this offense is. And it is effective. Every run play has a pass tag. Every pass play has a run tag. Every play is an RPO. They're going to hit their screens. They're going to hit their hitches. They're going to torture linebackers by making them go 4 different directions on the same play. It's going to open up space behind them. And all of a sudden, you have a slot receiver in the open field with a chance to make one person miss and go. So I'm interested in that. So we had a good show today. We had a good time today. We will do the same tomorrow. Remember, Friday, there is not going to be a POMcast. I have a doctor's appointment with the neurosurgeon, and it should be absolutely just fantastic. So I'm looking forward to that. So I want everybody to have a good time, to enjoy what's going on, and of course, hotty toddy.